screen.
Should be live.
Live? Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So to start out tonight's school board meeting, I didn't see that we had a committee portion, so we're going right to call to order the meeting at 5:17. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call.
Matt Bryce. Here. Tashina Rager.
Here.
Steve Bont. Here. Ronnie Schuler.
Here.
Next, the reading of the mission statement and rules of the meeting. Matt Bryce.
Mission statement. The mission of the School District of St. Croix Falls is to provide a supportive, student-centered learning environment that cultivates character, fosters academic excellence, and embraces diversity. Board meeting rules. Focus on the mission, vision statements of the district. Come prepared. Be respectful of others and open accepting of ideas. Actively participate. Avoid side conversations. Remember, board meetings are open forum.
Perfect, thank you. Next we have principals' comments. Do we usually start with Rita? Or does it matter?
We don't. It's good practice. Okay, principals' comments. We have family game night coming up this Thursday, and you are all welcome, board members, if you want to lose a game to me. The students participated in the Battle of the Books practice test today and got 100%. Tomorrow is the final battle, and I will be in touch shortly after that to let you know how it goes. Friday's the end of our trimester. Teachers are working on report cards, and they are going to hold parent-teacher conferences maybe the week after next, I think, coming up real soon. And we have, I think I told you about our family checkup grant that we got from the university, and that is a parenting. It's an online app that helps you be a better parent. I did it, and I thought it was amazing, really helpful, but it's too late. My kids are grown, and I've already ruined them. But for the young parents, it's great, and 13 families are doing it right now, and the feedback is tremendous, so we're going to try and roll it out to all families next year. Thank you.
At this moment, we have parent-teacher conferences going on in the middle school. Before I came down here, I looked, and it looked like every room at least had a parent in there talking about their kiddos. Last week was the Champions of Winter celebration in the middle school, where we recognized all the students who are in winter activities. I would like to publicly thank Mrs. Rose, along with Ms. Becker and the middle school student council, for all their work to make the week a success. It was a lot of fun. Today, the middle school attended a concert by the Pomoja Project right here. It was fantastic. We had the whole middle school dancing. I think there will probably be some video out on that later. I've been working with Mr. Wilson on scheduling for next year, and we're making good progress in addressing both our needs. And the middle school PLC leaders and myself have been continuing to work on an action plan for next year, the next couple of years. And we have defined areas of concern and are developing the actions necessary to address those concerns. Any questions?
All right, sounds good. My turn. As Daryl said, we've got parent-teacher conferences tonight in the high school as well. And our high school kids attended the concert today, which was very, very well done by that crew that came in with Mr. G. Not all the high school kids were dancing. There were a few. A little different vibe. Let's see what else we got going on here. Last Monday, I met with Ms. Lockwood and our CTE teachers with Eric Lockwood from Northwoods Technical College to have some conversations about enhancing the dual credit opportunities that we have for our kids. So we've got some things on the burner now that we're going to try to heat up a little bit. Last Thursday, we had the reality fair at the high school. We had about 120 Osceola high school juniors along with our 77 high school juniors in the gym and put on a adult financial seminar, basically. Aaron Mark from FNC Bank was kind of this man who was spearheading that. He did a phenomenal job. We had 30-ish volunteers running tables, and the kids spent their time working the way around the tables and figuring out the adult financial game, so to speak. So it went
super fun.
very well. Yeah, it was cool. So Mr. Brown was at one table. He was in charge of convincing kids to, have a pet or two, and realizing that it may cost a couple bucks to do so. I was at a table working with housing, so the kids, once we broke their budget down, I had to kind of give them some financial guidance on if they could afford to buy a home or if they were renting or whatnot. So a great experience for the kids. Winter sports season is reaching its super fun part of the season right now. We've got 6 boys and 3 girl wrestlers heading off to individual state, which is phenomenal. To have 9 athletes heading to state is amazing. And the week after that, we'll have our team wrestlers heading to state in the Division II. So if you're not familiar with that, because they've had so much success, they've actually been bumped up to Division II. And because of their success this year, they'll be bumped up to Division I next year. So it says a lot about our program, no doubt about it. Boys basketball has their first playoff game next Tuesday night at Somerset. Girls are playing tonight at Osceola. Boys hockey is in their, 3rd game now, I believe, of playoffs tonight. So playoffs, and a lot of success. Any questions?
And then we'll go ahead and move on to superintendent's comments.
Fantastic. So I've got several things for you. I'm going to try to be brief and to the point, which is uncharacteristic, but you'll notice that we have the new etched glass, application. They're basically stickers, but they're that etched glass. The reason for that is that we are transitioning the boardroom to be able to be converted for privacy, so that if we were to have an expulsion hearing or something else that would require a bit of privacy, we're going to have if the doors are closed, of course, you have the etched glass appearance, but we're getting blinds made for each of the windows that can be pulled down to close that off. The look of them are going to be on this side, on the inside the boardroom side, are like aluminum. They're not made out of aluminum, but they're like aluminum or silver colored, so that it should blend in nicely. And on the back side, it's just like white. They're nothing spectacular, like cellular shades kind of a thing, pull down. That's all because we've now transitioned Kirk Anderson to the district office. So he's in the office that's closest to the door on the left-hand side, which was Kayla's. Kayla moved up to what was Betsy's office. Betsy moved to where Tammy was in the center of the office there. Tammy's now in the old boardroom with Shelley Schmitz. So kind of special ed and pupil services in that old boardroom area, that's been split into 2 offices. That also then frees up this smaller conference room that's next door to us here, where the speech therapist was working part-time. That's now freed up because the speech therapist has moved to Shelley Schmidt's office. And so this room now is bookable for staff members and various other things to use. So the shift for the most part is complete. Once we get those blinds in place, then if we have anything that requires privacy, relative privacy, we should be good to go. So that was the reason for the updates to the doors and the eventual incorporation of the shades. I'm going to piggyback on the Pamoja project and the Mzizi, I think is how you say it, the Mzizi group from Uganda. On Saturday evening at 7 o'clock, they held a free concert here. There were roughly 400 people in attendance, and according to Mr. Goodmanson, about 200 people on the live stream. And they raised around $4,000 just based off free will donations of individuals coming. It was fantastic. I came and my entire wife's side of the family came. So all the in-laws and spouses were in attendance too. So we were 8 strong, which was super fun. And it was absolutely remarkable. I mean, they did a great job. It was super engaging. There wasn't a staff member an attendee that had a negative thing to say. It was awesome. And then Afterwards, they had some of the instruments for sale out here, some T-shirts and things like that, and the artwork, I think, was mentioned already. Our students did artwork to incorporate the Pomoja project and so forth. And so I can't say enough about how awesome it was. They did work at the elementary yesterday, and then they did a middle and high school concert today, which Mike and Daryl mentioned. So it's been fantastic. Wanted to give you a quick update with respect to the Department of Ed implications. So there's been talk about, you know, the possibility of the dissolution of the Department of Education at the federal level. And right now, there really isn't much of anything to be overly concerned about because we don't know anything. And so the United States has gone on in the past without a Department of Ed. I think a Department of Ed was instituted by Jimmy Carter in 69 or 70, something like that. And so clearly it's possible or conceivable that we can function without a Department of Ed. I think what the more critical question, once we know more about it, is the reductions that school districts might see, because arguably if there are the dissolution of the Department of Ed, and some of those responsibilities are pushed to other federal agencies and or the states, I would argue very little is necessarily going to change for us, because the state is generally the enforcement arm for the federal government to ensure that that the school districts that they're responsible for in the state are, you know, quote unquote, following the rules, and we do the reporting to the state, who reports to the federal government and so forth. So I don't see a ton changing in that regard. If we would see then a reduction in funding, then clearly that's going to have an impact, as the federal grants we receive for flow-through and IDEA, as well as the title grants, are going to have an impact on our relative ability with staffing. The issue is going to be not broad or massive changes, but there would no doubt be some modifications that we would have to make. But as it stands right now, there's no human being that I'm aware of that could tell you what that might be and if cuts in fact are going to come. Another aspect that's on the horizon, which is not really associated with the potential dissolution of the Department of Education, is the federal government will have to vote or act on funding itself again come March. So if you recall, there's a temporary resolution in place to fund the federal government, and that's what we're operating under currently. And if there's a federal government shutdown as a result of Congress's inability to act or come to an agreement on a continuing resolution to fund the government, there could be hitches in our title and other grant payments coming from the feds. So there may be some bubbles in the water, as it were, this year. Here again, we don't know until we get there, and that will not happen until early to mid-March. So it's kind of around the corner, but still no news. You probably recognize that we had a primary for the state superintendent of public instruction in Wisconsin. One candidate, Jeff Wright, was eliminated, and so now there is Jill Underly, who's the current state superintendent, and Brittany Kinzer, who is a challenger. So those two individuals will appear on the general ballot in April for the state superintendent race. Wanted to apprise you of the fact that we have an FAC director vacancy. Mr. Goodmanson has chosen to step away from those responsibilities, which is understandable. He's done a lot of things for the district for quite some time and wants to devote some of his attention elsewhere on occasion. So we have that posting out kind of internally to start out to see if we can identify a human being internally that would be interested and willing to serve in that capacity. And then also, I guess, if we can't find someone that's a viable candidate internally, we may look outside of the district too. The problem with the position, as you probably recognize, is that it's not like, it's a stipend position and then you get hourly pay based on the private use or the outside of school district use of the FAC. And it's not as though it's, it would be a hobby for somebody. It's not as though it's a job that someone would be, it's not a livable wage job. Let's just say that. You're not there.
Predictable hours either.
Correct, yeah. So there's weekends and evenings, and sometimes you might have to shoot in here for an elementary thing at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday, and those sorts of things. So what we're also going to do to help remedy some of that, at least, is ensure that our administrative team and Kirk have some rudimentary skills for the functioning of the FAC, so we don't have to run around and grab people to get it up and running if all we're doing is a presentation, or perhaps even, like an elementary Christmas concert, which is just ensuring that the lighting is on correctly and that the sound system is functioning, not like programming a light show for a complex theater production or, you know, a symphony orchestra playing here. So the hope is that we can do that enough to be dangerous and be a bit more self-sufficient, so we're not quite as reliant on one or two human beings having to spend their time for those relatively mundane things, and then we can get locked down what we're going to do for outside groups and other more complicated things. We're also looking for a high school football coach. There was 6 applicants, I believe, and Tara and staff are in the process of conducting those interviews, which I think are going to occur next week or the week after, right, Mike?
5th and the 10th, I believe.
Okay. I know that's on a lot of people's minds, so I just want to put it out there that we're pretty confident we'll find a football coach. We're in the process of developing and finalizing schedules and planning for next year. So everything that we've got in place so far is about making plans and laying the groundwork for next year, including some potential schedule modifications that you will see coming forward if, in fact, those things do take shape at the middle school in particular. Other than that, we don't see anything that is, you know, shocking or concerning where we're wondering what staff members are going to do or how we're going to keep people full-time. So we seem to be in pretty good spot as a result of that. And then lastly, just wanted to mention, I did email this to in my board update, and our staff members are keenly aware. But just to reiterate, we've had 2 school closure days so far this year. So now any additional school closure days would be virtual or off-site learning, so that our staff members are prepped and parent communication has transpired at the building and staff level too. And of course, on those days now, instead of just simply saying closed, we'll say, you know, closed/virtual learning day or off-site learning day when we do the announcement, and then students and parents get the details from their classroom teacher. It's my sincere hope that that's 0 between now and, let's say, mid-April, because we have had 12+ inches in mid-April, which usually that time of year, it's super heavy and not easy to move, but we'll see. So that is what I had. Any questions for me? Outstanding.
Perfect. All right, so I have 2 items in front of me, but before I move there, board members, anyone have comments related to trainings? Maybe we want to wait on that.
The state?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Brent may have an update. He and Lorraine and I were the 3 individuals that were able to attend the state conference. And I, of course, don't want to speak on his behalf to a huge degree, but there's a few things he might want to provide a brief update on at our next meeting. There was some excellent content, as per usual, at the state convention. Focus on things like AI in education and, you know, recruiting and retaining staff members, benefits, some pretty standard things, plus some of the newer topics. And there was some pretty decent general sessions as well, so.
Perfect. So then I have 2 items in front, but this is a separate item, correct? This course.
Probably an announcement,
Yeah, and an
typically later in the agenda.
Sure, whatever you think.
wait on this, or can I do it now?
Does
All
anyone
right.
know?
Just like,
Since it's addressed to the school board, I don't want to open it for you.
We typically give those to Steve for during the announcements.
okay, perfect.
Thank you.
All right, so since we're still on board comments, I do have, can I do the award right now?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So we have an award tonight for one of our school board members. This is from WASB, which is Wisconsin Association of School Boards, and this is a member recognition certificate with a pin, and this is going to Ronnie Schuler for her Level 3 award. So, congratulations. Not sure if you want a handshake too or anything like that.
I'll
but
take one.
Congrats. Perfect. All right, so then moving on, public comments. Did we have any public comments and filled out a sheet at all from the audience?
Not,
No? Okay, moving on. So now we are down to our presentations and or awards. So consent agenda. So we have 2 items on the consent agenda, but it's my understanding that we can do one approval for these, or do they have to be separate?
No, that's correct. That's why it's the
Okay.
consent agenda.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so 2 items on there, approval of the monthly expense vouchers as presented, and then the approval of our last 2 past meeting board minutes, January 14 and then February 11. So at this time, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Ronnie,
I'll second.
second by Matt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so now we are down to curriculum and policy. Review and vote on the policy 345.6, graduation requirements, which was presented, I think, at our last meeting. And then review and vote on the change to the 2025-26 handbook language for subcosts of personal business day, which was also presented to us.
I wasn't here. Any quick rundown, everybody? Anyone
Yeah.
have for me?
Yep. I apologize because I am doing double duty, so I want to make sure that I'm finding where I'm supposed to be on my sheet, and we are not on we're on 345.6 grad requirements, correct? Okay, excellent.
just
So
that
then,
one first.
I'm not lost anymore, I'm good, thank you for your patience. So the modifications to the graduation requirement policies all stem from board action that took place on approving a change to the courses we offer that has done away with computer science, I think, or computer class that we offered at the high school and replaced it with a financial literacy class. That was outlined in legislation that passed last legislative session that needed to be implemented. 345.6 then gets those updates as well as some clarifications and then spells out when these new graduation requirements take effect. They do not impact this year's graduating class, and there's kind of a a slide in for 26 then, and then 27, they're in full effect kind of a thing.
Okay.
So not major, but we did have to update the policy. Yep.
I guess that was a couple meetings ago. I guess I was familiar. Yep. I mean, now that you remind me.
Yep. Well, the course action was a couple meetings ago, and then the clarification was we'd be bringing the policy for subsequent approval too, for the change. So, yep, no problem.
I'd make a motion to approve policy 345.6 graduation requirements as presented.
I'll second it.
Second by Doc. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Awesome.
All right. Didn't I say aye? Aye! Perfect. Okay, the next one. So we have to then vote, so I'll take a motion to vote on the handbook language for the subcost of personal business day.
Just for quick clarity's sake, this was discussed at our last meeting, and it's a very minor modification. There's an excerpt from the handbook that was included in your board agenda, and all we're doing is simply inserting the word half the cost of a sub, rather than the cost of a sub for taking a personal business day. So pretty minor modification.
So it's kind of a super small but appreciated benefit.
Correct.
Improvement.
Correct. So it's less costly for staff members to take a personal business day is basically what it is. Kind of a gesture of goodwill, sort of a,
Small benefit.
we appreciate where you're coming from. Keeping in mind that our sub costs on a regular basis have increased pretty much yearly to keep pace with what people are paying for subs and to get people to want to come and even bother subbing. So I think it's and Lorraine's not here, so I apologize. Is it $150 or something like that? A day? 160? Yeah, thank you. So it'd be half that.
I'll make a motion to accept the change to the 25-26 handbook language for subcost of personal business. Say the amount, or?
You're fine just saying that the change as presented is fine, yep.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we're down to personnel. We have two retirements on the table. The first one, voting on the retirement of Brian, how do I say the last name? Eckern?
Eckern,
Eckern,
yep.
middle school language arts teacher. And then secondly, voting on the retirement of Georgia Scott, elementary teacher. So I'll first take a motion for accepting the retirement of Brian.
I'll make a motion to accept the retirement of Brian Eckern, middle school language arts teacher.
Matt,
I'll second it.
second by Steve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for your service.
And I'll make sure that that's noted in the minutes. Thanks for service.
And now on to our next one, retirement of Georgia Scott. Did I? No, you did. Okay. Take that motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the retirement of Georgia Scott with thanks for years of service. How many years has she been here? A long time.
6, I think her letter said.
I remember her when I was in elementary school.
Sounds correct. Do you know off the top of your head, Rita?
It is 26 years in St. Croix Falls.
She does.
All that walking around town she does. Every time I'm driving, I see her walking. I made the motion. I'm not
Yep,
sure if
motion
someone
by
seconded it.
Second?
By Matt? Do I need to say this a different way?
Nope.
No, that's good? Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for your service, Georgia Scott. All right, moving on to financial. This was also presented, I believe, just at the last meeting. So review and voting on the summer school wages. And then I believe I have to abstain from this.
That's accurate.
Since my husband does summer school.
Yep.
Any questions or comments on this one? And then because it's money increase, do we have to do something special here?
I think a roll call vote would be, yeah, preferable.
That way your abstaining is delineated by you.
And for the benefit, for the one individual in attendance and the folks that are watching, in case you didn't watch the last meeting, this is fairly minor. It simply ties summer school wages for the middle school recreational classes to our base wage, so it's 80% of the base wage hourly rate, rather than having it be a fixed 25 bucks an hour. If it's tied to the base wage, bachelor's degree base wage, it will automatically increase if there's modifications to what that base wage is, so we're not continually going back to make those modifications. It also requests moving summer school helpers, high school summer school helpers, from 10 bucks an hour to 13 bucks an hour to simply stay competitive. And even at 13 bucks an hour, we're not doing too hot when you can get a job at Quick Trip and Menards and other places and get 15, 16, 17, or 18 bucks an hour. But we're gonna take it step by step and start with going from 10 to 13, if you approve the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the summer school wage increases as presented.
I'll second it.
Second by Matt. We go right into roll call vote.
And I'll do roll call. Matt?
Yes.
Deshina?
Abstained?
You are abstained. Steve?
Yes.
And Ronnie?
Yes.
Very good.
Okay, perfect. Next, announcements, and we have
We do. With sincere thanks, thank you for the kind thoughts and words during this difficult time. Your kindness and concern have meant so very much and will always be remembered. The Doug Zappa family.
All right, upcoming events. So we'll have our two regular board meetings, March 11th, March 25. Spring election reminder, April 1. Regular meeting, April 8th. And then a Monday meeting, as a reminder, April 21. Matt, could you discuss the rules of the meeting and did we follow them?
Sure. We focused on the mission, vision statements of the district. We came prepared. We were respectful of others and open, accepting of ideas. We actively participated, avoided side conversations, and we remembered that board meetings are open forum.
Perfect. All right, so now I'll take a motion to adjourn to executive closed session pursuant to section 19.851G of Wisconsin statutes.
I'll make that motion to go to executive closed session.
By Steve,
Second.
second by Ronnie. Roll call vote?
Matt Bryce,
Yes?
Tashina Rager,
Yes.
Steve Bont,
Yes.
Ronnie Schuler.
Yes.
Okay, we will be in closed session at 5:47 PM.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Actually, I'm going to amend it to 5:48 because it just changed.
Jammed in here.